Welcome back to this week's episode of the Boss Too Hard podcast, where I have the pleasure of having on one of the probably most influential people in my life, especially over the past few years. He's been my pastor, but he's also mentored me through a lot of really hard seasons, those turbulent waves that we always talk about. Not only mentorship in life, but been there for my children and also, just walking me through hard things in marriage because we know that there are hard days there. But his relationship has shown me the importance and how powerful it is to have a mentor in all aspects of life. And so, Pastor Kenneth Clark, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to the Boss Too Hard podcast.
What's up, fam? It's so good to be here.
Yeah.
Feeling bossed up. So,
Here at Hi Hello Labs, it's pretty boss.
Oh, man, it's 5-star treatment up in here, man.
Right? Coffee and everything when you walk in.
Cappuccino?
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes, not even the drip coffee. So this has been a conversation that I've wanted to have with you for a while. Your journey is amazing, and you stepped out into the entrepreneurial world a little after I did. And I think there's never been a moment in my career from the time we met that you were my champion. And so to have you here and have you share some of your story is it's really exciting.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think, you say that. I know you've given me the privilege to hear and walk along some of your story and just how much you've accomplished with where your journey has started.
Yeah.
And the short amount of time, the age that you've done what you've done is really remarkable. And so it's an honor to hear that I'm a champion for you, but I can look across the table and see, look how much you've done with what was handed to you. So really, really impressed as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I say that this is a safe space to cry, but I'm not quite ready to cry in this podcast yet. So,
all right.
But
have you cried on the podcast?
Oh
yet?
yeah.
Okay.
On the podcast. Yeah. Okay. So I was challenged, right? So you get into spaces, and I don't think you're ever in the right space if there aren't people challenging you to be a better version of yourself.
Right.
And so I got into this space, and I just wanted to do an interview podcast. And I talked to Carolina, I talked to Carlos, and they're the owners here. Amazing people.
Yeah.
But they encouraged me. They were like, Laurel, you have a lot to share. You have a lot of experience. You're not really positioning your expertise when you're interviewing someone else. And so they encouraged me to do solo episodes. So on my first solo episode, not only was I vulnerable alone, but then I also cried. And I was like, dang it. This was not the plan. But the reality is, this is totally who I am.
Hey. Let the river flow is an old worship song.
And so you're navigating a new space in life.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a full-time job where you are a VP of sales?
No, I'm a sales manager.
Oh, okay.
Sales manager, yeah.
But you still rock that position.
Yep, full-time.
You own a thriving nonprofit that's making a lot of impact in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've also got a marriage coaching business as well.
Correct. Yes.
In all of those spaces, the one thing that I see that is fluid amongst all of them is the opportunity to mentor people along their journey, whether it's a new sales associate, a young man in your nonprofit, or a couple going through some hard stuff.
Yep.
So it seems like that's a theme in your life that may or may not be important. I want to unpack that.
Yeah, I think I learned a long time ago I wanted to serve people. I went on my first missions trip my senior year in high school in 1997, kind of dating myself there. And that was the first time I saw real poverty and a young Black kid growing up poor, never meeting my father, and grew up with all the government help. But going to a third world country that was undeveloped, that was the first time I saw real poverty and was like, yo, I am blessed. But then I saw people living in cardboard boxes. I saw young kids kicking milk cartons for soccer balls with smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
And that's when and being introduced to that level of poverty also made it very clear to me that I wanted to serve people in my own community, wherever I chose to live. And
Yeah.
so I've kind of started a journey, began that journey of being in environments where I could serve people. And for the longest of time, I ended up going to Bible college and really thought ministry, in a church was going to be my highest and my best. And I was in that in and around that for two and a half decades,
Yeah.
being in that pastoral space. And so really, as I've shifted over the last 3 years, I'm no longer a pastor in a building.
Mhm.
Pastor is simply someone that's leading people, that's shepherding people. And so I've taken all those attributes that I did within the church space and just applied it directly to the community. So I love couples. I love families.
Yeah.
I love mentoring young kids because that's really important, because that's the person I'm reaching is the little Kenneth, the 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old Kenneth that didn't have a father, that didn't have meals some nights. It's kind of hard to tell now. I've made up for it. But didn't have a hope for a future. Didn't
Yeah.
have plans for a brighter future. Didn't have those things. And so kind of mixed all that together, which is where you have vibrant families, the arm that's going to serve our community, the marriage coaching, which is, I believe, man, if we have healthy families, we're going to have healthy communities. We're going to have
Yeah.
healthy schools. We'll have healthy churches. I think we'll have a lot of healthy things when that family sector is intact. And so it's nothing perfect, but when we can
Right.
have that nucleus that's really operating. And so those are some big things when it comes to driving, supporting, and serving people. That's kind of the birthplace for it.
I operate in a lot of Christian spaces, right? I'm a believer that I am a Christian. I am a Christ follower, but that doesn't necessarily mean my business is a Christian. Like
Right.
there's Christian is not an adjective, it's a noun.
Yep.
And so I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago where we talk about the difference between purpose and calling. And so our purpose as human beings, God created us to serve one another.
Yeah.
I don't care whether you are a barista at Starbucks
Yeah.
or a high-level CEO, your purpose is to serve someone else,
Mhm.
period. Your calling is how you do it.
Yeah.
And so when you are in those, I think I might be making up a word here. Merriam-Webster, please add it to your dictionary. When you're in those ministerial
Okay, that could work. That could fly.
spaces, it's this idea that God calls, right? And we put God's call in a box.
Mhm.
And so if you've grown up in any sort of type of church space or you're surrounded by pastors, it's the idea that you can only be called into a church.
Right.
And what I will say is you're one hell of a pastor. Like,
I appreciate that.
I loved being pastored by you. I'm still pastored by you. You were one of the very few people that I think every single person in my family, between my husband, the 3 boys, all of us could connect with you. And that's really important when you're leading people. But leading in a church for so long, and I mean, you said,
Almost
over
25 years, yeah.
yeah,
In all the different churches that
right.
me and my wife have been in that space. We've been married now 21 years. We've known each other for 24, and we've been in that space since we were together. And prior to that,
So what was it like? Like, when was that moment that you realized that it was time to create impact outside of the church? When you knew that your skill set could go beyond the the 4 walls of the church?
yeah. I think the biggest thing is for me and my family was the ideal of we could do more together. And so I think within my family, and so I think depending on what church you're in and what space and what role you're playing, I think anytime, and no different, and leaving a full-time ministry or leaving a church, it's no different than Man, if I chose a different career in the
Mhm.
corporate space, sometimes we get it confused. Like if I go get another job because there's more opportunity to do something, then that's okay. We applaud that. But sometimes we leave the church space, then it's frowned upon. It's like no different than a athlete going to another team if there's other
Yeah.
opportunities. So for me, I felt like I'd kind of hit the ceiling. Kind of what else would I be doing in that same space in a year, in 5, in 10,
Yeah.
and I couldn't see beyond that.
Yeah.
And so for me, I felt like I had a lot of things that I really wanted to express in the community that maybe didn't fit in the organization that I was currently serving
Yeah.
at. And so we begin that transition. And I think like anything in life, when the grace kind of runs out, you just kind of like, it's time to do something else. And we all know sometimes we just stay longer than we should have in whatever that's your corporate or relationship
Yeah.
or just friendships. Like sometimes you're holding on to what you think could be,
Yeah.
and could be's never coming because we're holding on what we thought was. And so when we get really clear on what do I want to do? What do I want to create? And does it fit within this parameter? You can ask yourself some basic questions, get very clear. Most of us get too comfortable that we won't jump. And that literally what it was. Me and my family came to a decision
Mhm.
and literally jumped because there was nothing else. I didn't have something lined up to go to. Like I just knew I have to leave this. But I was listen to something by I think it was Steve Harvey, and he was like, "Man, you'll never fly if you never jump."
Yeah.
And that just resonated with me because I thought it's so true. Like some of us now, that parachute may not open when you want it to. If you take that jump, I mean, you may fall for a little bit, but man, when that thing catches wind
Yeah.
and your wings spread and you catch it and it goes silent and you glide, it's a really really amazing thing. And so I think you talked about career roles and different things. I think probably one of the biggest things I learned out of the transition was my value and where my worth was placed. Because so many people I get to coach and in different spaces, you kind of have some of the similar things, especially men. Our worth is tied to what we do.
Yeah.
And the challenge with that is what we do will change.
Mhm.
Nothing lasts forever.
Right.
And so if our worth and my value is directly tied to what I do, when what I do changes, it'll have the tendency to wreck everything
Yeah.
because it's tied to that. So what do we need to do to make sure to kind of safeguard that? And I think what I've learned is, man, my worth and my value is not tied to what I create
Mhm.
more than it's tied to my creator.
Mhm.
Because I really believe that God in me,
Yeah.
He's always going to be with me.
Right.
He's not going to change. What I do may change. And so sometimes we put our value and our worth all in our family.
Yeah.
And then when our kids act the way that maybe we don't think they should, or when we go through a really, really bad divorce, then our worth and our value is completely gone.
Yeah.
Or your company sells and you're no longer part of that company. Now your worth is completely devalued. So you could apply that to so many things. But whatever you tie your worth to, if it's not connected to your creator, when it changes, it will have a significant impact on your life. So I realized when I was making that transition, my identity, who I was
Mhm.
wrapped up in this role that I had been in for so many years, not even at
Yeah.
that last organization, but just over the 20-year span, like that was my identity. That's why sometimes it's so hard for an athlete to retire, even though they should have. Like one of my favorite players was Brett Favre, but he retired. He retired as a Viking. He's a Packer, but he couldn't let go. Now I don't know him personally,
Yeah.
but I'm sure
Yeah.
you've done this your whole life,
Mhm.
and now it's time to do something else. So when our worth and our value is tied to our creator, not our creation, then we get the roles that we play. Like
Yeah.
my value, my worth isn't from my marriage, but it's a very important role. Even
Yeah.
the organizations and the companies that I get to be a part of or lead, they're not my identity. They're roles that I play,
Yeah.
but they're not where I seek my value. And so I think that's one of the biggest lessons that's really helped me really kind of project for the future is that I'm not tied to anything that I ever do. more than I play a role in it.
So my question is, why is this a lesson? Why is this a concept that people are finding so hard to grasp? And my boys are all athletes, and so there's always something on YouTube. There's something, they're reading, it's on a phone, whatever. I feel like I hate sports. I'm gonna say it right now, I hate sports, but I'm surrounded by them.
Yeah,
Like,
can
we listen to some music, please? But there's a young athlete. He's a football player, and he is in top recruitment status, right? And there was conversation about his work ethic, what he was tied to, and it was around him not finding his identity in football. Like, football is great, but that's not all that I am. Mm-hmm. And reporters, newspapers, he caught a lot of backlash for it. That, well, do you have the work ethic? Are you going to put what needs to be put in order, to get to the top? Are you going to deliver to your team? And he had to make a formal statement like, hey guys, I love football. I have worked. I have done this. I've done that to be the best.
He's already an accomplished athlete, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it was Trevor Lawrence from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes.
I saw that report. Yep.
And it was like, why is it so hard for you guys, for this young man to have the self-confidence to know that he is so much more than what he does on the football field?
Right.
What do you think what's that blockage? Why was that so hard for people to understand, and why was it so taboo?
Yeah, I think if we don't work on ourselves internally, we can never fix an internal problem with external solutions. And most people are looking outside to fix something. So when they get a rare athlete that says, because he hasn't not put work into the game. Yeah, he came in number one when he came out of Clemson in college.
I'm so happy you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. So I mean, an incredible athlete. Yeah, and he did great when he first came out, and it's speculative how well he's doing now. The point was, he's more than football, and so but as we go through life, depending on what we're consuming, and there's so much of our input will determine our output. Yeah. And so many of us are consuming. This is the only way to do a thing. You've got to consume it. You got to be all in. That's the only way to produce something that's great. But again, if that is the only thing that determines your value and your worth. Yeah. When Trevor walks away from the game, and he will at some point. Yeah. He's going to have other things that he can do. Yeah. Because football was something that he's really good at. Yeah. Football paid him a lot of money. Yeah. But that's not who he is. It's simply a role that he plays. And that's exactly that's a beautiful point that you didn't know who you were talking about. I did, but that's exactly what it is. It's, you can be so great. And I think, I'm a Christian. I love the Bible. There's a verse that talks about your gift will make room for you. When you can do something that comes so easy to you that some people can look at it and say, man, that's difficult. We're talking to our girls about this the other day. Your gift can be so strong that it comes with ease. There's naturally talented people. Mm-hmm. LeBron James is a freak of nature. Yeah. You may not know who that is.
I do know. Yeah, I know who LeBron is.
He's 40 years old. He's still dunking on people. So
not the GOAT.
But he has a natural ability, like a God-given talent that he's had to hone and really work on. Yeah. But the game comes to him. Yeah. He works at it. And so when you can do something that comes so natural to you, it doesn't have to be your end-all be-all. You can contribute to it. You can add so much value to it. Be the best at it. But long as it doesn't determine who you are, then you can walk away when that season changed. Life is full of changes.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's constant, right? Is
constant. Change. And I think a lot of some of the coaches or some of the couples that I get to coach and different people, a concept that hit me a few years ago was, these seasons, a lot of times we don't change with our seasons. Mm-hmm. And so when seasons change, we need to change accordingly. If we just look at the weather, like we're here in Florida, it's pretty warm all the time and it's just hot and hotter, right? But if I were to go to the beach in January and go hop in the water, and then I'm going to be frustrated because it's colder than it was in July. Yeah. I could be mad until I'm blue in the face. Yeah. But the season changed. Yeah. It's no longer July. I shouldn't expect for the water to be that high. But we do that through life. We shifted seasons, but we're still expecting the same outcome. That's why, often Hope and I will have to sit down and whiteboard the next season.
Yeah.
Because, and anybody that has kids understand there's a season. When summer's in, the house is different. You're at Costco every day.
Yes.
I'm at Publix. Like, I go to Publix at 1, and then I'm back at like 1:20. They're like, what happened? My daughter needed butter. So, the seasons change because they're around. So same in our life. If we don't adjust to the seasons, we'll find ourselves frustrated and irritated. Like, why is this happening? You didn't adjust.
Yeah.
You didn't make the change.
Yeah.
You're freezing cold. It's cold outside. You need a coat.
Yeah.
I just thought it was going to be summer. Oh, it's December.
Yeah. But the sun was out.
But we don't change. And so it's really important that we shift and change with the different seasons.
So I want to challenge that idea of changing even further. It's not good enough to change. You have to evolve with the seasons, because there are seasons we know in life that are cyclical. And if you're not giving yourself permission to evolve, you are going to go through that season and feel the same things. Like, simply just changing due to circumstances is not as valuable as evolving to what's going on around you so you can manage it better. Like, in my head, it was really profound what I was saying, but it's that it's a powerful aspect to evolve and truly not change and then go back to what you were doing, but change to truly be a different, better person to handle those seasons better.
Yeah, I think it's if we're going to become the best versions of ourselves, that's going to be constantly shaking off who we used to be.
Yeah.
And so the challenge with that is that who we used to be could be really comfortable, because, when a new concept comes in, it requires change. It requires shifting. It may require who you thought were friends are no longer friends in your life. It's going to require, anytime you up level, anytime you change and you're moving towards really where you feel like the highest version of yourself, not everybody in your circle or in your sphere is going to go with you, nor should they.
Yeah.
And so, but that can be disheartening for some, because we can be so attached to what we think should be.
Yeah.
That we really, because sometimes, man, they say, leadership is a lonely thing.
Facts.
You becoming the best version of yourself can be a lonely thing.
Yeah.
And if you always like the noise and always like the crowd and always like the attaboys and always love the love, then growth sometimes can be very difficult, because it requires you to really get clear with yourself. And before you can grow, I just finished writing the manuscript for my first book. I got to go back and edit it, but just finished. And so, and working through that process was really, really enlightening, but as you navigate through life, you're gonna leave some people behind, and that is okay. The last time I checked, me and Hope was talking about this for years, God didn't have a conference call for your calling. It wasn't like he got everybody in the room and said, hey, is this okay for everybody that Kenneth does this?
Yeah.
It wasn't. He gave you that. It's between me and him.
Yeah. What
we're going to do. So becoming that highest version of ourselves will require sacrifice.
I think one of the hardest relationships for me to evolve out of, and this is going to sound really terrible, but if you know, you know, as I grew and I tried and I evolved into new seasons, from, teenage to young adult to mother to wife, all of these things. I didn't come from a healthy family. And so these concepts of marriage and the foundation of marriage and family and disciplining children and having a husband and a wife in a home and pursuing goals and things like that. It was really hard for my mom. She struggled with addiction.
Yeah.
But to see her daughter jump and fly, there were times where she was really happy about it, but then there was times that she was really, really terrible about it. And so there was a 5-year season when I had to do life without her.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to do it because I had to come out stronger, to where it was a point that whatever reaction she had to what I was doing in my life didn't hold weight any longer.
Yeah.
And I think that, the importance of family and strong families and healthy families is really, really important in being able to evolve. Because if no one around you is evolving and no one around you knows how to evolve, even if they are the closest, most foundational people to you,
Yeah.
it's difficult. And it's one of those, people may or may not agree with me, but you most of times are a product of your environment.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot to break the cycle, whatever that cycle is.
Yeah. Definitely, in adolescence and younger, we're definitely products of our environment, but there comes a point where we get to change our environment. And so it's even now, scientifically proven, like people that maybe their parents had certain diseases in their body,
Mhm.
disease, diabetes or heart disease, and that can run in you, right? But environment can shift that. Diet can shift
Yeah.
that. So, and so many other things. I'm not saying you're
Yeah.
not prone to it. So, and I'm not a doctor, so don't
Well,
sue
also,
me. But I'm saying
yeah.
our environment, we can become a product, but I can also change that environment.
Yeah.
I can change my groups. I can change, again, input will determine output.
Yeah, you ain't got to make
So
grandma's fried
what
chicken anymore, mac
what
and cheese.
what I'm consuming, from an intellectual standpoint,
Right.
what news, I can almost, when we just got done with our election, I could kind of tell who's listening to what by what they're talking about,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I don't even have to know. I could just tell,
Yep.
and so
Yeah.
the consumption. So we got to be really careful. Like if we want to up level, then man, we got to read some stuff that's going to move us forward.
Mhm.
If the only news we're consuming is what the Kardashians doing, and then
Yeah.
what I'm doing, I'm not knocking the Kardashians, are doing their thing, but if that's the only thing we're consuming, and I'm not consuming something that's moving my mind forward, that's challenging me spiritually, that's challenging me to be the best version, the better husband, be a better father, be a better leader. How do I move our community? Those are the things, those are the people that I need to get around. And it just won't happen by osmosis. Like I have to get out and seek those people.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, then you realize, man, these type of people are coming around me more often. I'm changing. So you want me to show you your income? I can show me your friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you broke, you probably got broke friends.
Well, there's no one to learn from, right?
So, and
There's
so
no.
we've had to navigate through that,
Yeah.
through seasons, financially, emotionally, physically. Like, I've got a trainer now, and I've got friends now that are in the gym. So what do I do more now? I came here from the gym,
Yeah.
right? So I'm in the gym 4 or 5 days a week now because I'm around people that are in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
But I've also been around people that we go get Popeyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that ain't serving me well. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So it's like we have to up level the people that are around us. We have to up level what we're consuming, and when we do that, amazing things will happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's the power of expanding your circle, allowing people to speak into your life, that power of mentorship. And so
I don't know if this circle expands more than it changes.
Yeah.
Because expand would mean sometimes I keep, although, so expand like, oh, I got room for everybody. Sometimes when I move, I've had to leave some relationships back that really was important. So I don't know if that was expanding more than it just moved,
Yeah. When I think of expand, I think of expanding opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes in order to change that circle, to move that circle, you've got to get in some spaces that feel really uncomfortable,
Oh, for sure.
that you may feel like, I don't belong here, and it's sometimes it's even like a different language. And what are they talking about? And how do I do that?
Yeah, I was invited just a couple of weeks ago to this round table of these local nonprofits here in Central Florida, and if I said some names, there were some heavy hitters, like some of our biggest companies. They
Yeah.
were VPs and presidents of these companies, and I was invited by the host that knew me, and so they were like, "Yeah, I've been at this company 35 years, 28 years, 1.5 billion payroll," and I'm like, 2 years, I'm the only employee. So it's crazy. But, it's not that the room wasn't too big, because I know my body of work in the VFAM space, in the nonprofit space, it's new. But
Yeah.
what I bring to the table is a new, but being in that room, like, I am the smallest fish in here.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying to that degree, but it was also exciting knowing I'm in the right place. I got so much space to grow.
Yeah.
I got so much room to get better. And the truth is, everybody's feeling the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all navigating, trying to figure family out, trying to figure health out, aging parents, kids, spouses. Like, we're all in this thing. And when we get really authentic and really clear and really listen and get really curious, be more curious. One of the things I love about Jesus, many things, but he was curious.
Yeah.
And people say, how do you know? He asked so many great questions.
Really did.
He never came in he would just throw something back at you. So what would you do? What does it require for you to?
Yeah.
How about? He was curious.
Yeah.
And I think when we get more curious, then our empathy rises, our sympathy rises, our kindness rises.
Yeah.
Because when we get curious, then I realize you're so much closer to me than I think you are.
Yeah.
You're navigating the same thing, just at a different level or different season. I'm a firm believer that everybody's always going through something all the time.
It's true.
And when we look at it through that lens, now that person that cut you off, if I could have a little grace, I have no idea where he's going.
Right.
Maybe he's rushing to the hospital for something.
Yeah.
His wife, his kid, his mother, we have no idea. But I'm mad because I got my Wawa coffee, and I about spilled it because you cut me off.
Yeah.
But if we actually knew the context, then we have a little bit more empathy.
Yeah.
So when we get curious about our community, we get curious about our relationships, and I think we're just in a lot better place.
So there's two ways this can go, and
Okay.
I really want both.
Okay.
And so let's figure it out.
That's like my wife. I'll say, "Would you rather?" And she's like, "I don't want to play this game because I want both."
Yeah. So
hope.
This is one of those situations. So there's two things here. So you might have been little fish at that table with all those nonprofits, but you're making big fish moves in Seminole County.
Yeah.
And you've done some like incredible things and made some really amazing impact. And you've done so much over 2 years. So I do want to touch on that and give people some ways that they can plug in and come alongside you. But this is a podcast for entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs, we've got a lot of statistics against us. Like 25% of us fail in the first year. Most of us won't make it after 5. Like half of us are doomed for divorce. And so I have always, I honor your and Hope's walk because you've always been transparent. Like, marriage is not easy, and you're both entrepreneurs. You're both highly driven people. What advice would you give? Now, this isn't your mic drop moment. So if you got a mic drop moment, you got to say that for a little bit.
Okay.
But what advice would you give to couples who are navigating the entrepreneurial space to come out on top?
Oh, it's a great question. I would definitely say, does what you're pursuing line up to your end goal?
Mm-hmm.
I think couples that have a common goal that they're going to, man, that's always going to be something that they're working towards and moving towards in that space. And so, if not, then it can feel competitive.
Mm-hmm.
It can feel you're not too sure. I think one of the things And I can almost tell that each year that we had our hardest year, like year 4, year 7, 11, and 18. Like those were the years that I was like, we kind of looked at each other like, I don't know if we are going to keep doing this or we should. And so one of the things when you do a lot of things together early on, and then you begin to evolve and grow,
Mhm.
if you don't have that conversation about the seasons are changing, then you just think things will continue to always, she's going to continue to do all the things she used to do, or he's going to continue to do all the things. But
Mhm.
because of new roles and expansion and growth, man, that's shifting. But if you don't ever talk about it, then you have the same expectations
Yeah.
and it's different. So what happens is you got to get very clear on, hey, this is where we're going. And the example that I've given is sometimes we don't know direction that our spouse is going, and that brings fear, anxiety, frustration. I thought we were. Why aren't you? Why
Mhm.
didn't you tell? So we start asking these type of questions. The truth is, me and my wife, if we live in Seminole County, but if we said, hey, I'll meet you at Disney. Well, there's many ways you can go to Disney.
Yeah.
I-4, 429, go 417, many ways, back
Yeah.
roads. But we don't communicate effectively what the expectation is.
Mhm.
I could clearly get upset with her if she went a way that I didn't think she should go.
Yeah.
The goal is we're getting to Disney.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how we get there.
Yeah.
Are we still going to Disney?
Right.
And if we are, so that couple's got to give themselves grace for their spouse to expand and grow, even when it doesn't make sense to you. And I think as entrepreneurs, and you have to consistently keep talking about
Yeah.
where you're going,
Yeah.
why you're going.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, does it align with you with what you both want?
Mhm.
And I think if it does, and then you guys give each other space to get there, then I think you'll be fine. But if you don't know where you're going, you don't know why you're going,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have a bigger purpose besides just making money.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of couples that make a lot of money that didn't make it.
Yeah.
So it's not about that. It's what are we working towards? We got together because we're better together.
Yeah.
My wife's always said we could do exponentially more.
Yeah.
You know, my wife didn't marry me just because I'm so sexy. That's one of them. But because she felt we could do so much more together.
Yeah. I saw those eyebrows, Hope.
So long as we can continue to do so much together,
Yeah.
then we're good.
Yeah.
Is that easy? No. Building a business, is that easy? No. Raising kids, is that easy? No. None of this is easy. But with the right mindset, the right communication, the right barriers, I think one of the things I teach with a lot of our couples that I get an opportunity to teach is so many of us are looking at our spouses trying to fix them
Mhm.
and trying to get them to understand the way that we do it.
Mhm.
I wish they just understand it.
Yeah.
The truth is, we should get curious about why they do it that way.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason.
Right.
And when we bring curiosity into our marriages, man, it brings so much more room for grace.
Yeah.
But when we bring rightness and judgment, and you're wrong and you're an idiot,
Yeah.
and I'm here to tell you that you're an idiot
You're
and
not
that
even
you're
talking to
wrong.
me, and that hurts.
And so, but we don't say those words. Some couples use those words.
Yeah.
But we're saying that in our actions.
It's perceived.
Yeah. And so, but what if it's, okay, cool. I know we thought about it that way and we've done it that way, but let's talk about that. Like, wow.
Yeah.
And you can get, when you ask with that tone and that type of clarity, because clarity, when we we get context, it brings clarity.
Yeah.
It also brings empathy.
Yeah.
Now, because empathy says, oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, I fear that too.
Yeah.
You know, me and my wife I came the other day, just a couple days ago. I was hot because my daughter wanted to get cookies or something. But the challenge was, I think that morning she went to the store. She's got my credit card, went to the store. I came back. She was going back to the store with my credit card. So I'm thinking, we just went to Costco, went Dixie, Publix, all in like a 48-hour. What do we? And there was just some money blocks that I was kind of navigating through real quick. And it came up as anger and frustration.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to her and she's like, yo, I'm not your enemy.
Yeah.
And we had to get on, get on the same page. Like, hey, let's calm down. And so we could actually get to the root of it. Man,
Right.
it's this fear. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. Even though we know all these principles, there's a difference between integration. And I don't think it's not a silver bullet. You don't learn it and you never have to deal with it again. You just now can move through it quicker.
Yeah.
And so now we got the tools that we can stop. Hey, let's really get to the bottom. What's really happening here? Why are you really upset?
Yeah.
Why are you really upset? Is it about your daughter making cookies? No. It's about me feeling insecure in the moment.
Yeah.
Like in a moment, I felt not enough, not good enough. I wasn't going to have enough. And that triggered, and I took it out on her. Anger has a target. It's typically
Yeah.
the person that's in front of you. So in our marriages, when we can get really clear, and within now, years ago, that would have taken me days.
Yeah.
I would have shut down on hope, got quiet, call it the Cold War, right?
Yeah.
But now that literally, and she got heated, I was heated because
Everybody's hot.
everybody's hot. But then really within 15 minutes, I'd embraced my wife. I kissed her. Thank you for holding space for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned again. So she goes, you just gotta let me know when you want me to help you with something or you need to vent.
Yeah.
Powerful, because sometimes I needed to vent. I didn't need her to fix it. So she went to fix it. I got upset.
Yeah.
So she's like, let me know. So our code now is, hey, I need to holler at you real quick. Don't fix me. Just hold the space for me.
Yeah.
And then she's like, cool, dump away. Let it all fly. Get it out.
So I love.
And so that is really healthy. And so there's moments where I'm like, now she's like, now are you ready for a solution?
Yeah.
And then now I'm ready, but she shortchanges me
Yeah.
and tries to fix me before I'm done venting. This is our relationship. It could be different for other people. But for us, don't fix me, babe. Let me rip this real quick. And then, so that's helpful for us.
We were actually just talking about expecting people to anticipate your needs or having a unspoken expectation and then getting upset because they didn't meet the expectation.
Yeah.
And so that's aligned with just, hey, I just need you to listen.
Right.
I don't need you to say anything. I just need you to listen.
Every relationship has a fixer and has a processor. And there's somebody that wants to fix it and there's somebody that wants to think about it. And so when you get both those people in the room, the fixer's like, yo, come on. Hey, where you going? Don't turn your back. And then you texting them, you're knocking on the door like you want a solution now. And the process is like, let me just chill in my room and think about this. And so the process has to come a little closer and say, hey, I'll shortchange my time. And then the fixer needs to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then so you got to find this agreement that, cause sometimes I want to sit in my anger.
Yeah.
I want to be pissed. It's like, we got too much going on.
Yeah.
So can you just speed up your pissiness? Can you, you got 5 minutes. So, but that works for us.
Yeah.
Because she knows me, I can spiral because of some of my makeup. And I haven't resolved all of my things. So because of my blueprint from a young childhood, if I go too deep, man, she'll lose me.
Yeah.
And I can sit in it.
Yeah.
And so she knows, hey, I can't let him fall that far. And so she'll grab me.
I love it. I love it. That's really good advice. That was
So I hope that answers your.
Oh yeah.
So we say what makes entrepreneurs. So at the core level, if you're doing things with your spouse and your business and stuff like that, when you got a happy home, I know they say happy wife, happy life. I get that. But when your home is safe.
Yeah.
And me and Hope were talking about this last night. I was like, no matter what happens on the outside world, I'm safe with you.
Yeah.
I'm safe with our girls.
Yeah.
Are they perfect? Are we perfect? No, but we're safe.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of people that don't want to go home.
Right.
There's a lot of people every night they got guys' night, cigar night, happy hour. The ladies got Pilates, yoga. They're never home. And they go on vacation with everybody. Yeah. They can never be alone.
Yeah.
That's a different topic. So.
Yeah. We can go into all that.
We can dive into that all by itself.
So you are a marriage coach. And so if somebody if what you just said resonates with someone and they need to work through some of that with their spouse, what's the best way to follow up with you on that?
Yeah, they can simply email me at kenneth@vibrantfamilies.org and I'd get back to them and we can set up some stuff. for sure.
So speaking of vibrant families, we help marriages and couples at vibrant families, but we also are making, I say we because I manage I just recently started managing the social media for
Yeah. Woo.
vibrant families. I'm so
Crushing it.
excited. I love it.
Crushing it.
Um, but we at Vibrant Families have this amazing program called the Legacy Club.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the Legacy Club.
Yeah, I founded Vibrant Families a couple years ago, and really was sitting down going, what is this next impression of ministry? It always kind of been done inside that church space in the building. So this expression, I was sitting with my mom, my guardian. I was adopted when I was 13, and so back in 22, but really the winter of 21, sitting down and came to the conclusion of why I got back, why I started ministry, and that was to serve people and to help little Kenneth, me.
Yeah.
And so, what better way to begin mentoring young men that didn't have a healthy role model in their life, or came from a broken family, or just felt like, man, if they didn't get some support, they wouldn't become the best versions of themselves. And so, I started communicating with some relationships I had in the community, with some of our local school districts, and saying, "What if?" Just got curious. What
Yeah.
if? What if we could? And so, 2 years later, man, we've got a program that is really moving the needle. And so we really focus on two things. Again, like I said, I couldn't read until I was 13, so education is key for us. And then introduction to new experiences. So we typically will mentor during the week, sometimes on campus, or some of our partnerships with the YMCA or Boys and Girls Clubs. So we'll mentor. And then on at least one weekend of the month, we would do excursions, call them legacy excursions and legacy mentoring. So the excursions are a lot of fun. What we want to do is introduce our young men to new vibrant things, right? And so a lot of my demographic that we get the opportunity to serve really have a couple of options. Man, if they can become the next LeBron, and we want to support that, but not everybody's going to become a professional athlete, or they want to become the next Kendrick Lamar, but not everyone's going to spit like Kendrick, right? And so, and then what do they do if they don't do one of those two things? They feel like there's not a ton of options. They're going to do what's been in front of them. Is that selling dope and so we just want to say, hey, there's so much more that's available to you.
Yeah.
But what do we have to do as a community? We got to make it available to them.
Yeah.
We got to put them in front of them.
Yeah.
We got to have them experience it. So we've partnered with some great companies where sometimes it's just fun that we do things. I've taken the boys we rented a boat and went out to the ocean, and some of our boys had never been to the ocean.
Yeah.
And so to see them in 4-foot clear water, and some of our mentors are teaching them how to swim, like that is like that's my new pulpit. Like that is I can't that is pure joy.
You see it like on you, like it's just joy. Everything.
And then there's moments where we have businesses that, like EA Sports, partnered with us. We took our boys there. So many of our kids game, and so they got to see the outfits with the balls on them, and got to hold all these cameras and just be behind the scenes of how they're doing coding, and knowing, hey, you could do this right here in your community. And they had no idea that was available to them. And so we've taken them to the Dr. Phillips Center, which is our performing arts center here in Central in Orlando, which is beautiful. And so not only did they see a play there, but before that, we took them behind the scenes to what does a front of house manager look like? What does a light manager, stage manager? So these are all roles that they get to play. So introducing them to new things that they never even saw possible or even thought was available to them is incredible. And so, they're our boys right now. We get them around 5th grade, 6th grade, but the goal is to be able to walk with them all the way till they graduate. Because sometimes when we get our kids a little younger, a little older, it's doable. It just makes it a little bit more challenging when and there's a lot of great programs across the country for high school kids, but not a ton for that 5th going to 6th, and then that 8th going to 9th, which are big transitional periods.
Yeah.
Even for a healthy home, mom and dad, those are big years. So you can imagine some of the insecurities that I've had, and so many of the people that didn't have a father or a healthy home. And so we just want to be able to kind of bridge that gap and let some of our young men know that you're dope, you're special. We're going to build some brighter futures. If you ride with us, we can't promise you everything, but you'll be a whole lot better off, with linking up with us and seeing what's available to you in the future as we're building brighter futures.
I love it.
So
here's your mic drop moment. We've talked about a lot. I mean, this has been a really valuable conversation. Marriage, mentorship, life changes. It's a lot to navigate, but we do have our Thanos moment. You snap your fingers, half the world isn't dying, but they do have to stop. They have to listen and they have to understand. What do you want them to hear?
Mic drop moment. I think overall, one of the themes that we've kind of themed around anything I really get the opportunity to lead is done is better than perfect. And so many of us wait to do a thing until the stars align, until God writes something in the sky, or he sends an ass to talk to you. And the truth is that may never come. But he's given you what you need.
Mm-hmm.
You always have enough.
Yeah.
You always have enough. And so done is better than perfect, whatever's on the inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
To fill out that application for that next job.
Yeah.
To fill out for that promotion. To try to have that kid again. To work on your marriage again. To build that relationship with your kid. Build that relationship with your parent. Yeah. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to align with the stars. You can just take a step towards it.
So good.
Because if we wait till it's perfect, we waited too late.
Yeah, that's good. I've spent a lot more time with you lately. And so done is better than perfect it's so true. So if you've listened to this podcast today and you've been navigating some things that are hard and you've been really holding yourself to a high standard, realizing that you can just do the thing and you don't have to wait till all the stars align. It doesn't have to be perfect. Your marriage doesn't have to be perfect. Your childhood doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you still have something inside you that is amazing. And your purpose is to share it with the world, to use it to serve others. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Boss Too Hard podcast. PK, thank you so much for being here.
What an honor. I feel bossed up. Let's go.
Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week. And remember not to boss too hard.